Hello, class. This is Dr. Young. This is week 3, lecture 3, and we're going to summarize or encapsulate chapters 7 and 8. But before I get started, most of you have gotten your feedback on your papers, and I certainly want to encourage you to view the APA feedback in the announcements, and go online and take a look at APA formatted papers if you're not familiar with formatting it, and see how it's done. Most of you had issues with the references and citations, and remember, we know, instructors know when you do research, you copy and paste information, you take information from other sources. You must cite that information and paraphrase it. Put your own original thoughts in it, again, so you do not get engaged in plagiarizing information from other sources. So just be on guard against that, and you will do fine. So we're talking about chapters 8 and 9, which is recruitment. Chapter 7, chapter 7 and 8. And chapter 8 is selecting effective employees. Now, chapter 7, really, when we talk about effective recruiting programs, you need to know that the recruitment of the organization, the recruitment of talent, replacing talent, is really the backbone of human resources. I mean, their job is to provide talent to the various departments and managers to get the product or services out the door and meet the quality expectations here of the company and, of course, the customer. Effective recruitment programs are necessary to do this. Now, there's a number of ways that organizations recruit, and the internet has revolutionized recruitment. Many firms now rely on technology and the internet services here to recruit their primary jobs that they're looking to fill. We look at, in large organizations, the HR department does the recruiting, and in smaller organizations here, you have people such as the operating managers, the supervisors, they do the recruiting. Now, both large and small organizations may outsource this function. They may use agencies, headhunters, as we call them in the industry, that look for talented people that are hard to find, and they proselyte these people. They recruit them and entice them from one organization to go to another. And so many organizations use employment agencies and headhunters to find hard to find talent. We know that a lot of times, because of it's difficult to find talent at the last minute, temporary agencies have sprouted up where companies will hire temporary talent or contract talent that they pay by the hour. They're not on staff, and they come in and they do the tasks that are necessary. And of course, sometimes you have companies that engaged in employee leasing, where they literally lease their talented employees to other companies. This is very popular in the aerospace industry, where one company gets a contract, a government contract that's worth billions of dollars to build airplanes, and the other company does not. So where do those engineers and highly talented people go? In many cases, the company will lease their talent to the company that got the government contract if they don't have a portion of it. That takes place. Some of the methods here of recruiting has a lot to do with advertising, and of course, computerized matching services. There's all these Resumex and resume software systems out there where they scan your resume into the computer and it automatically matches up with the job requisitions. And this is the reason why in the last lecture I said when you review job descriptions in areas that you want to work in, use the words and phrases in those job descriptions in your resume, because many firms now have automated their resume system and job requisition systems to match up. And in many cases here, if your resume does not have the proper wording in it, you will not get considered for the position, even though you may be highly qualified to function in that capacity. So you certainly want to look at the recruiting aspect here. Now, in Chapter 8, they talk about the selection, the selecting of employees. And really, folks, this is key because you want to get into that selection process. And one of the ways you do that is that you certainly have to have a strong resume to be considered, and that's the reason why you certainly want to make sure that your resume reads like the job description so that you can get considered for that. And they're looking at, they can give you brief interviews by the telephone to see if you have the minimum qualifications, and then set you up for interviews. Many companies now are using employment tests, and these are just standard tests to assist them in evaluating your capabilities and your knowledge base. So you need to be prepared for that. You also need to have your references, information, telephone numbers, addresses available so that they can check those. And of course, most organizations will have you take a physical examination prior to coming on board. The HR professionals and operating managers get involved in the hiring process, folks. And it behooves you that if you're going to be interviewing with any company, that you do your own personal research, not only on the company but also in the industry, so that you have some idea of what's taking place in the industry that you're working in. The accuracy of the resume is important. You want to make sure that there's no flaws and errors. Many times the philosophy is taken that if there is a mistruth or an untruth in the resume, if there's just one, the assumption is that the entire resume is flawed. So you want to be very, very careful, making sure that you be very truthful and honest in all of your capabilities. In larger organizations, they may have a sophisticated technique where you're going to interview with several people. They do panel interviews. You interview with not only the manager, but also maybe a team leader and possibly people that's going to be working with you, such as colleagues, people, senior people that work in the area. And, you know, the selection process, again, can take a few weeks to a few months, depending on the various tests that they're going to get involved in having you take. And we certainly encourage you to take a look at the hiring processes of various companies. Go on the internet and do some research and see how they do their hiring. Some companies follow a certain format, and it behooves you to know what goes on the other side of the organization and how one can understand that process and have it work for your benefit. So if you know what happens during the process of the company as they are hiring and recruiting, it kind of gives you a slight advantage because you know what to expect and you can address yourself to the issues that they're concerned of. Well, that concludes week 3, and I look forward to seeing you in the classroom. And everybody have a great week and a great weekend. Bye-bye.